6:30, we have a quorum. We'll call the planning board meeting to order. And I'm assuming the only one up right now is Mr. Iser.
Okay. I have two things that I've sent you and one thing that I haven't sent you that's an interesting dilemma I'm in. So we'll deal with the ones that I've sent you first. Item one is the very small subdivision on North Maple Street. Does it make sense to talk about it with only three of you?
I think because the last time you presented it, we gave a little bit of opinion on, Mike is, I don't remember what he said, but I think he was okay with the.
Here he comes.
There he is.
Okay, Bill, is it possible to put that plan on the screen?
Okay, let me go digging.
Greetings.
Good evening, Mr. Sars.
From where, Mike?
Bogota,
Wow.
Okay.
Colombia.
What time is it down there? Same as ours about?
Yeah, and when we go to daylight savings, they don't switch, so it's an hour different.
Oh, okay.
Did I miss the Affordable Housing Trust meeting?
Yeah,
That's
that's gonna be at 6:45, Mike. First one, we're planning board right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was trying to get in and I couldn't get in. It said there was another meeting in progress.
So, Randy, I don't see I see the original, the 6-lot subdivision. I'm not seeing the 2-lot subdivision.
Well, two weeks ago you had it because you put it on the screen then. So you got it hidden somewhere. Well,
Okay, well, let me check.
it's not the end of the world. There's just one thing I wanted to talk about that I think would be a good revision to it. So
2:15, Bill.
What?
2:15 is the date that you sent it out.
Okay. I'm just looking for mail from Randy and I'm not getting. Oh, you have 2 emails though, Randy.
yeah, so it probably came from R. Iser at Eaton Survey.
Okay, I see what I'm sorry. I was just constraining it to the planning board. You sent it to you sent it to my other email, I think. Although I'm not seeing it there either.
Yeah, he
Oh,
sent it
here
to
it is.
send it to you and me alone, Bill.
No, I've got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, my my Bluetooth mouse, this is first world problems. My Bluetooth mouse died. So I had to dig out a wired mouse. And
Oh, that.
so, okay, let's do screen share and is that the 2? Let's see. Yes.
There you go.
So,
Okay, so I just wanted to reiterate that I made these lots as small as I could with the shortest road so that we would have more of the restricted land or conserved land, whatever you want to call it. And I was thinking about this the other day and realizing that if they want to put this in APR, they're going to want access to the APR land, which I show as restricted land. So what I'm going to do is open up the back of the cul-de-sac and leave a 50-foot gap between the 2 lots so that there would be access to the back land in case APR ever got involved, and they'd be satisfied that they would have access to it without having to have an easement.
Okay,
So what that'll entail is pushing the road back 15 or 20 feet farther than it goes now, which right now is 150 feet or 100, yeah, it's 150 feet is the length of the road once you get into the cul-de-sac area. So if anybody has any issue with that, let me know, but I think it's a good idea.
yeah, I think so too. That seems like a good parcel for APR.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll work on getting the paperwork together to submit for the definitive part of it.
Does anybody have any questions regarding a cul-de-sac or a hammerhead? Any choices?
I'm expecting that this isn't going to be actually built. It's just going to be a driveway coming to a T.
That's what I'm wondering, yeah.
Yeah, so the reason I do the cul-de-sac, Joe, is I can get more frontage without going back as far.
Okay,
So, and then when I submit the definitive, what Bill said is correct. That there'll be the driveway coming up the narrow part, and then it'll tee off to each lot, and I'll make sure that whatever I do satisfies the fire chief.
Correct.
okay,
Right on.
good.
All right, thank you on that one. Next up is the A&R at 55 East Street. Bill, please.
Okay. No, that doesn't.
Okay, thank you very much. This is 55 East Street, which is between Route 9 and the bike path. It was owned by people named Lesko. They've both passed away. Their children own it now, one of which is Joanne Wilda, who's Frank Wilda's wife. She and her sister own it, I believe. And they wanted to cut it up to sell the house to one of their daughters, and then, which is lot 1. And lot 2 is the remaining land, and I assume they're going to put that on the market. This lot is not in the aquifer. It's just misses by about 100 feet. So we need 175 feet of frontage, 30,000 square feet of area, and the 150-foot box fits in both lots. Both lots have adequate frontage and area.
What's the red dotted line, Randy?
We're in the middle.
Yeah,
Okay, so that is, the deed is in 2 parcels. So if you can see it, you'll see that I have book blah, 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 page whatever going parallel with the street. And then underneath it, it says tract 1 and tract 2. And the reason I do that is so some lawyers want to know, well, where did this come from? You know, what is the heritage of this new lot you're creating? So that's why I do that.
okay, so it doesn't mean anything except for kind of like an attorney reference?
Yeah, it's just a reference that this is where the 2 parcels in the deed are. And so I always do that in a lighter line. It may look heavy
Okay,
on this, but the dark blue lines are the new lines, and something like that is just informational.
okay. Any questions on it from anybody?
I just wonder why you bothered.
Why is that?
Well, wouldn't tract 1 and tract 2 from the deed, wouldn't they have both stood by themselves?
Probably, but they wanted to give the minimum amount with the house.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that on the east side or west side? That's east side.
West side.
West side, rather.
Yeah,
This
behind
is-
it.
This is the driveway into the family housing,
right,
Burke Way.
yeah,
Burkway.
Okay.
okay. Entertain a motion to sign it? Approve it, rather?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Aye,
aye,
Any opposed? Is Mark done on, Bill?
I say aye.
Yes, Mark is on.
Okay,
Sorry, I was muted. Aye.
well, it's okay, but no, just with the this full screen up, I just couldn't see if you were on or not, Mark, that's all.
Okay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Lastly, put on your thinking caps. I have a plan from Bill. This is the plan I was talking to you about the other day.
Yes.
Moriarty found it. So in 1991, the planning board signed a flag lot plan. My client took it and very foolishly put it in his house and left it there. He never recorded it. So he came to me 2 weeks ago and said, I need to change a boundary line. My driveway's on my father-in-law's property. So I started looking into it. The assessor's map shows the endorsed flag lot configuration, but the deeds don't, because the plan was never recorded and deeds were never transferred. So I need to be able to record this plan. And I said it's signed, but because it's been sitting for 30 years, it has turned dark. And I don't know if the registry will accept it. So I'm wondering what we can do to, I'll draw the exact same plan on fresh Mylar and show you that I do have the original with the planning board signature and the town clerk's signature that the appeal period ran and nobody appealed it. Any suggestions as to how we can deal with this?
I am not sure that it's still a valid plan.
So they also never recorded the decision approving the flag lot.
If it's not been recorded in the registry of deeds, it doesn't exist.
Well, there is some case law on that, which basically says that if everything was done according to, if they acted in substantial reliance on the plans, we can't, I think that they're grandfathered.
Where is the location?
It's Michael Moriarty and Kristen Moriarty, Dickie Keats's daughter. So it's right behind Dickie's house
Yep.
on Stockbridge.
So that's been built for 30 years.
So
Yeah,
that,
and the only reason, like I said, the only reason I need this thing to be recorded is so I can change some lines. But I mean, I'm at your mercy. I understand that. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
Has the house been built?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought okay. I didn't understand that.
Yeah,
So it's actually been built on as if the flag lot existed.
correct.
Okay, that's different. Okay, that's a different story. I did not understand that part.
So he had the approval and he got a building permit and, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as Jimmy just said, they've been treating it as if they did the right thing.
So what do they want to do now again, Randy?
So Michael believes part of his driveway is on Dickie's property, and he wants to change the lot line so that his driveway is wholly on his property. And I can't do it unless this is recorded, because then I really don't have a leg to stand on.
and there's a lot of room there, so
Yeah.
it's not,
So what do you want to get? You just want to get a new Mylar and have us sign it again?
Yeah, but I don't know. It's dated 1991. I don't think you can sign it today unless I put some kind of a note on it that says this is a recreation.
Who signed it in 1991? Can you read it?
Let's see, some guy named Jim Maximowski, Joe Zagrodnik, John Devine, and William Dwyer.
So Josie didn't sign it?
Yeah, Joe did. You did, Joe did, John Devine, and Bill.
Okay.
what do you say, Bill?
So I think you can just just mark it somehow as a replacement plan.
Okay,
And
Based
then,
on the original.
and
yeah,
then
so what, all right.
replacement plan signed, whatever the date was, or just replacement plan for damaged Mylar signed such and as of such and such a day.
Okay,
And then we can sign it.
okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, in fact,
That way, nobody gets in trouble.
yeah, replacement plan for a damaged Mylar signed, whatever the date was, by the 3 names or the 4 names who signed it. And
Okay,
then put in a new signature block
okay,
and we'll put in today's date and give it a
All
bit
right.
of a history.
all right. So what I'll do then is come up with something along those lines, and I'll send it to you, Bill, for review before I finalize it.
Sure.
Everybody good with that?
Yep, that's fine.
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just so you're aware, I'm gonna have to go see the town clerk and go through the same process with her.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
That sounds fine.
All right, sounds good. That's all I have for this evening, gentlemen. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Very
Thank
good.
you, Randy.
Buenos
Okay,
noches.
Seeing that it's 6:45, you want to go to the Housing Trust Fund, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund meeting, Bill?
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
So we have a new fearless leader for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Chair being Mr. Stanley, if you want to call it to order. I think we have a full house.
Sure, I can call this to order. Do you guys have to do anything to break between your planning board meeting and this, or we good to just run right into it?
I have you down on our planning board agenda for 6:45. So
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, let's call the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to order. I can just start it and we can look at approving the minutes from the last meeting on 12/8/20. I don't know if you want to review those at all to give an update, or just have a motion to approve.
I reviewed them. They seem okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second it.
Okay. And excuse me, I haven't done this in a while, so I might forget all the order of things, but oh geez, man, my brain is somewhere else right now, but it's all those approve of this.
So
All those in,
what we've been doing is we call for a vote.
Yeah,
Those in
You have to do a
favor,
roll
and
call.
then those opposed. If it's unanimous, we declare it's unanimous and don't bother with the roll call.
okay. So what do you do? All those in favor? And do you just wave?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay,
yes,
Aye.
all those in favor then.
Mark says aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, so we'll take that as approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Unanimously.
Unanimous. And then we're gonna reorganize. That's the next thing on the agenda. Let's go.
Yeah, I think we just did year terms or so. I'm happy to stay on as clerk. I don't know if you want to stay active, Christian, or you want to complete your retirement.
I don't know if
from
I'm the
public
best
service.
fit being out of, I don't know if I'm retired, but I'm kind of out of the loop. So I'm happy to stay as chair. But also I definitely am out of the loop. So, I don't know if anybody else wants to take over as chair.
Well, it's up to you, Christian. Do you want it or not?
Actually, you're,
It's fine with me to keep going. As long as Bill gently reminds me every once in a while, we need a meeting. I'm happy to be the chair.
and you're actually going to get brought up to speed on the latest and greatest in about a minute, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So any
Do we
other?
need, do we need a motion to continue with Mr. Stanley as the
I think
chair?
it'd be sufficient just to vote on, we could vote the,
Retain current leadership.
we close nominations and open for vote. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so
So-
let's just, all those in favor of keeping the, or let's have a motion. I guess I shouldn't
Make a
do the
motion
motion, but
first.
does somebody else want to do a motion? To
I
to just
would
keep-
make a
keep it
motion
in
to
order?
keep the officers as currently exists.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll just take that as unanimous and all in favor. And then our next item on the agenda is just to discuss results, goals, and objectives of this fund. The first one is the rental assistance program.
I'll speak to that. I did put an
Yeah.
editorial note in the minutes to the effect that there were no applications for funds from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund's contribution towards rental assistance. And that money reverted to us as of, I think it was May 31st of 2021.
And that was 50,000?
We had pledged up to 50,000.
Right.
So the money actually never went anywhere. It just was, okay, we're good for up to this. And yeah, we never got there. It was at the annual town meeting in May of 2021. There was a vote to fund 25,000 from Community Preservation Act for rental housing assistance. There was a report on that at the Housing and Economic Development Committee meeting last night. There has been only one application, and that applicant did not qualify. So the consultant that we've been using, I think Hampshire Community Action, recommended wrapping up the program. And so there will be an article on this spring's town meeting to revert, to cancel that allocation too. Nothing has been spent, and there has been no apparent demand for it. I will also report, for those who haven't heard yet, we did receive a grant from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission in the amount of services to the value of $15,000 for developing a housing production plan. And we'll be working with that, with Ken Comia from PVPC on that, beginning at our next meeting. Everyone from this group is welcome to attend that meeting. Ken did want me to say as a preface to it that we would not be talking about housing needs per se at the kickoff meeting, but rather talking about how the housing production plan preparation will be conducted. There are specific requirements for going out to getting public engagements and the out questionnaires, having meetings, and there'd be a discussion about whether we want to keep it purely under the authority of the planning board or whether we want to reach out and get other people involved. So I will be posting jointly for the Hadley Housing Educational and Housing and Development, Economic Development Committee for the 15th. I can post for this group as well for the 15th, if we thought that would be useful. Just to have some more faces there to hear about what's going on.
Okay.
We're all going to be there anyway.
I was gonna say, if the planning board is
The
there,
planning board is in charge of that one right now. So
Yeah.
we'll be at it anyway, but do you and David want to attend it as, you want to just listen in, or do you actually want to attend it as a meeting members?
It'd be nice to be on there just so we can attend as meeting members, I think, just in case.
yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
I will post then for 3 separate meetings to be held simultaneously.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's the March 15th at what time?
We meet at 6:30 and I'll probably put it down for 6:45
Okay.
because we have these people who come in and ask us these nagging questions at the beginning of each meeting.
I found a piece of paper in my house, 30 years.
He's a good nag. He's a good nag.
And then there were, under the heading of other opportunities and needs, there were 2 presentations last night to the Housing and Economic Development Committee. The first was from Valley Community Development Corporation on plans they are exploring to purchase the Econo Lodge on Route 9 and develop it into affordable housing. And the second was a very general description with the manager of Hampshire Mall on what another mall owned by Pyramid is doing. They had a Sears building that became surplus. So they are converting that into market rate apartments. Not anything that is planned presently for Hadley, but something that in just the kind of thing that could be done with a mall that is not fully committed to commercial space. I know that Laura Baker from CDC is with us tonight. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about your proposal or just to check in and say hi.
Do we see you? Right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm in my bed. No. So I was mainly here just to listen in, although I'm very happy to answer questions or give a brief overview of what we're thinking for the Econo Lodge property. But I don't want to hijack your meeting.
Well, one question, if
Why don't you give a brief overview, Laura, so that everybody knows what you're talking about, because only Bill and I were there last night.
Sure. Although
And I.
Mark was there too.
Mark was there too. I'm sorry, you're right. And David too.
And Joe, did you have a question?
No, just kind of a 50,000 square foot view of 50,000 foot view of what you talked about.
Okay. So the concept is to acquire the Econo Lodge. The seller is looking to sell. So we've negotiated a price and we've signed an option to purchase, which gives us the right to acquire the property, but we don't have to acquire it. It's what we call site control in our world. And so having that in place, we're starting the process of talking to different parties in town about would Hadley be receptive to a conversion? And what we're thinking of is there are 63 rooms now in the hotel, of reducing the density of the hotel down to 50 apartments. So it would be a mix of efficiencies and 1-bedroom apartments. The target tenancy is kind of single adults and couples. We're looking at some units being subsidized, the rent being subsidized, so they would be affordable to people who are very low income. And then some rents being kind of in a moderate income tier and might be suitable for people who are working in that area, kind of in the malls and all the kind of service businesses along Route 9. So we would also provide on-site staffing and services for folks who are moving in. We would have, some of the units have a preference for people who don't have housing currently. So kind of that's the big overview. And I don't know if folks have specific questions.
Have you done a survey of people who work in the mall and restaurants and whatever service industries, whether they would at all have an interest in living in a place like this?
Yeah, we definitely have not. We're just kind of still pretty preliminary. I think that's a great idea. My experience, I mean, I've grown up in the area, is that the people working service jobs in Hadley, Northampton, Amherst, and increasingly East Hampton are having to commute long distances to get to those jobs because they cannot afford to live anywhere local. So my guess is that we'd have a mixed response. Some people would be thrilled, I think, at the opportunity to live close by, or even just to live in the valley. People are priced out of our region. It's a desirable place to live, and they simply can't afford to live locally.
Just a point, who would have control over it? Is this going to be a friendly 40B, or is this going to have the ZBA control,
Yeah.
or planning board in control?
Yeah.
Because we did have
we did discuss the two options, which is either a Dover,
40A or 40B,
Dover
right?
Act through the planning board or a friendly 40B. And there are pros and cons of both, probably. I did speak with Andrew Bombardier this afternoon at the development team meeting, and I had initially said last night that a friendly 40B might make sense, but the ZBA really feels like we have more expertise in handling projects of this scale. And there will be an educational component in that there will be a study room and a computer lab and counselors. So it will probably suffice under the Dover amendment.
Can you get a degree?
So what we're talking about having on site is, number one, access to technology, because that's something that's happening increasingly for people who are low income, is they don't have reliable internet or technology. And then having a remote classroom and then remote learning, as well as some scholarships available. So it's more the infrastructure that people can use to access the community college system. And I mean, we have a lot of educational resources already in the area. We're not trying to reproduce those. We're just trying to set up a place where people can affordably link into those systems that are there. So yeah, I guess, Joe, the answer to your question is no one's wanting to permit us. We don't know yet who's going to be our permitting authority. But we did identify last night that we think there's potential to zone this as a 40A, which is by right zoning, and it's just permitted by the building inspector. We'd be happy to do consultations in a scenario like that. And then a friendly 40B is the other path, but it's a more time-intensive path. It probably takes another year in planning to get through the 40B process.
What direction did you take off of Orchard Street in Amherst there? Right by the Amherst College football field?
Yeah, so
what was that? How did you get that through?
Oh, the one that we're going under construction now, that's a 40B.
So
that went through the Zoning Board of Appeals, and it was a long process.
Is this going to be a town meeting vote that would request the town that do we want more affordable housing, in as much as that we have close to 13% of our housing is considered affordable.
Right.
Some is going to be coming off, but
Right.
but nevertheless, will we have to have a special town meeting to approve this? Number one, that's question number one. Question number two is, we did have an experience with an affordable housing in friendly 40B that we were run over because they presented one of the most beautiful looking buildings you've ever seen, and then when it was constructed, it wasn't so nice. And they
Yeah.
said, oh, well, we have the choice. So,
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that.
well, and so we do, I do come with a little bit of a jaundiced eye because
Yep.
you hope that people would be true to their word.
Right.
And why do you think we need more affordable housing in Hadley?
Oh, so I'm going to circle back to some of the questions you just asked, so I don't forget them.
Okay.
No, I don't think we would need a town meeting vote for the zoning, because that usually goes to the permitting authorities. I think if we asked for something like CPA money, I'm assuming that has to go to town meeting. So if you were committing local funds, it's possible there could be a larger public process. This property was suggested to us by a regional group that works on creating more affordable housing. And the state has lately started really encouraging nonprofits to convert hotels into housing, partly because there's been vacancies in hotels, and partly because the demand for affordable housing has gone so high. And so it's kind of marrying those two areas together to quickly find a way to house more people. And so this property was suggested to us. It was leased out last winter to Craig's Doors, which is a homeless shelter, when it was vacant and they couldn't rent it. And people thought that that experiment went fairly well. And so the owner, somebody asked the owner, would you be willing to sell it? He said yes. And then they called us. So people brought it to us as a suggestion.
One of
I think
the
David,
problems,
hold on, Joe, hold on. I think David had a question. If you just
Go ahead,
let him answer the question real quick.
Yep, just the people have in town have kind of gotten wind of the project just on, I guess, from some of the other meetings. And one of the biggest questions they have is how, you mentioned for currently homeless individuals having a place for them to live. What, I guess, what are you envisioning for a ratio of homeless to, say, more traditional affordable housing units?
Right. I think that is a to be determined question, honestly. We're really sensitive to trying to create a good environment for people to live in. We wouldn't go more than half, I don't think, for folks that were homeless, because we want to create an integrated environment. Some of it has to do with funding. Some of it may depend on a market study. Some of it may depend on input from residents.
A lot of
just,
them.
just one quick follow-up. How is a property like this taxed? Because obviously we're going from a commercial property to, I assume, a nonprofit or not-for-profit.
Yep. So right now it's taxed on its assessed value. That wouldn't change. So when we develop housing, it's not exempt from property taxes. It's based on its assessed value. The lodging tax that's paid currently would not be applicable to housing. What Kurt Shumway told me, and I will tell you, because he owns a number of hotels in Hadley, is he makes a case that you would not lose revenue from the lodging tax. His impression is that there's kind of a fixed number of people coming to town who want to stay in Hadley, and they'll be driven to other hotels in the area that may have higher rates. So when it's operating at full, capacity, the Econo Lodge was 58% occupied. This is pre-pandemic times. So it's not occupied as much maybe as some of the other hotels that are in town.
I had the opportunity to take someone to detox at the Cooley Dickinson Hospital about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there's a real need for detox facilities. There's just not enough.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons you've got so much homelessness is because, frankly, drug addiction and alcoholism, primarily drug addiction, I would say.
Yeah.
And has there been any thought about converting part of this to a detox facility?
It's not something we have thought of. Now that I agree with your assessment of the situation. we're primarily housing developers, and so we don't have that expertise. We'd have to partner with someone who has that, that's a very particular skill set. We would potentially see people in recovery who would move into housing like this, and we'd be looking to provide supports, clinicians, meetings, whatever was needed to help people maintain their sobriety.
How long would your 40B be extended? In perpetuity, or would it be a sunset clause?
So again, it's often a negotiated point. Most of Valley's properties are 99 years or in perpetuity. We are mission-based. We're doing it because we want to do it. We're not looking to convert it to something else later. We actually want to produce and own permanently affordable housing.
Do you put a
Yep.
Question on if it becomes a 40A,
Yeah,
if it becomes 40A, it becomes an educational use.
right.
And you mentioned you're going to pay taxes. I would question if you're going to be an educational use, if you would still be paying taxes.
Right. So I think that's an excellent question. And I don't know the answer. We haven't permitted under 40A before, but we know that there are case studies in Massachusetts of very similar projects that have permitted under 40A. And so we could look and see what their tax status is. Because we use the low-income housing tax credit program to finance, which is private investor financing, it's privately owned housing, of which we're the general manager. And so we're getting into a layer of tax law that I don't know the answer to, but we could certainly look it up if we were going, if it looked like we were trending down a 40A path, we could certainly get those questions answered.
Regis College versus the town of Weston has been going on for 15 years, arguing about the same point. So,
As whether they owe taxes as a 40A
yes,
development?
they wanted to put up some apartment houses, and they said, we're going to have some, you'll be able to attend 2 courses at Regis College. Therefore,
Yep.
we'll be, we can get around the Dover Amendment by being educational.
Yeah.
Oh, we've
Yeah,
had a few battles, excuse me. We've had a few battles over the Dover Amendment here over the last 5 years. And my antennas go up.
I've heard that.
Good.
Well, that's why,
I-
we were joking last night. We kind of, Bill was like hot potato over to the zoning board of appeals with this. And now it sounds like they want to just kind of toss it back to you guys.
Well, we've been talking about a friendly 40B in town.
Yeah.
I approached another developer in town about it, and he found out that you were in discussion. And so, I think it's, Hadley's kind of like Poland. It's the corridor, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And, we were already the breadbasket of Hampshire County, pretty much. We're the
Yeah.
commercial district.
Right.
And my only question is, do we want to be the housing savior of Hampshire County too?
Right. I don't think you're in danger of becoming the housing savior of Hampshire
Yeah, I don't think we're
County
gonna get close to that with this project.
one development.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Well-
mean, I would say, Valley's been in business for over 30 years. We have never developed in Hadley. We've developed a lot in Northampton and Amherst and East Hampton. So
Yeah.
Hadley is not in danger of kind of getting a disproportionate share, I don't think, of affordable housing development.
Well,
Are you involved in the place on Conn Street in Northampton, the big, what is it, Salvo House?
So no, so Salvo House is public housing
Right.
owned by the Housing Authority. Valley's private tends to be smaller scale affordable housing.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing we've developed is the lumberyard property in Northampton on Pleasant
Right.
Street.
Mhm. Now, well, that's too far in front, too far ahead. I was
Yeah,
gonna
I was
talk
gonna
about
say-
parking. If they're homeless, are they gonna have 1 or 2 cars,
You gonna permit us tonight?
So it strikes me that if it's affordable in perpetuity, and the corollary to that is that these 49 of these will
50 of 51 are, and we have
50 of
a
51 will
live-in
be
manager.
on the inventory.
Yep.
In perpetuity and paying tax in an existing structure. There are a lot of positives for that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's a good, public transportation.
Yeah, the location is good for
One.
folks.
Yeah.
And I will just comment, there are 50 parking spaces there now. We wouldn't need that many. So not that we would necessarily eliminate them, but we don't, not all of our tenants have cars.
So would this be a review of the site plan? Would this be change of use, Bill, and have to go through that whole thing?
Well, we would have to go through site plan approval, but for an existing structure, we can waive, we don't have to go through drainage studies and the
Yeah.
like. So it could be a pretty streamlined process.
Yeah.
I mean, the attractive thing about the 40A, and I think, again, there are similar supportive housing affordable projects that are using 40A. I think you need some cooperation with the host community to be able to do that, because your building inspector is your zoning enforcement agent, and he or she has to be comfortable issuing a permit. And I don't think they want to stand alone necessarily in making that decision. So.
Laura, who manages the property?
So we are the asset manager, meaning we have overall responsibility for the asset. And then we use Housing Management Resources, which is a property management company that specializes in affordable housing. They do the property management.
Where are they located?
So they're based in Quincy, but they have offices. Our offices that we work with are in Florence. And a building this size would have its own on-site property management office with its own dedicated property manager, which is a big plus. I mean,
And how do you,
go ahead.
how do you make sure that, as my friend Dr. Zagranik says, this doesn't become a student stuffer?
So.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
that was going to be my next question, because you say Hadley is not.
That was already in her presentation last night, that there would be no students eligible.
Right.
Well, the fact remains is Hadley, they said the housing is not affordable for my young son, daughter to live in town. Well, if there are some apartments available, and now I notice that developers are buying a lot and making the house as a student stuffer. So you're competing against 7 or 8 people living in a house, and they can.
So we use a funding source, the tax credit program that I referenced, which prohibits renting to undergraduate full-time students. We're not allowed to do it. So if someone is in the midlife and they're doing a vocational change, that's one thing, but this is not, we're not allowed to rent to the kind of students that you're talking about, your undergrad full-time students who are really dependents of other people. And that's why the prohibition is there, because
how do you do your due diligence to make sure that they're not a student?
Well, everybody has to be screened, and they have to show what their income is and what their occupation is, and they have to have references. So it's not that hard to figure out when someone's a student, especially an undergrad student.
Okay.
Would there be any space for farm workers? You know, a lot of farm workers now tend to live outside the area. Sometimes are seasonal.
Right.
Would there be room for people like that?
I don't know that we would have seasonal housing. So the idea is it's permanent housing. You have a year-long lease. It's not transient in any way. Certainly someone who farms is perfectly eligible to apply. It's not a protected class and category that we can set aside units and say these units are for farmers. But certainly if people are income eligible, they're welcome to apply.
Well, my observation is that some of the people that come up here to work are such hard workers that they end up owning 1 or 2 houses.
That's good, right?
So that, is there a work component involved? If these people are able and they can work, should they have to work to live in a subsidized housing unit? Right.
I think what we're doing with the vocational training is more of the carrot than the stick. No, we don't prescribe people's work requirements. Some of these units would have fixed rent, so you'd have to have enough income to afford the rent. So typically you have some units that have their own rental subsidy, and if I'm the tenant, I'm paying 1/3 of my income. Most of the units don't have that, and so they have a fixed rent that's below market. I have to have enough income, typically from work, to be able to afford it. I mean, the sad reality is people are working full-time and they can't afford rent right now.
You know, if you're a drug dealer, you're probably making a lot of money, but you're not gonna show much income. I thought I'd throw that out.
Yeah. And you can
All
rent a hotel room for no trouble at all.
What do you
Yeah.
guys think? Are we done with the 20
No,
questions, or do we want to kind of wrap it up here?
Christian,
Joe,
I
one
think-
last closing thought?
This is the planning board, this is the planning board meeting now. Everything is going.
I know, I feel like we
No,
moved
this
in
is-
from Affordable Housing
This is
Trust
the
to
Affordable
Planning
Housing
Board,
Trust.
so-
You can keep on going when we
Okay.
get back to planning board.
One particular question, the fact that, it's tough on the people renting. This was a unique time during the pandemic. Now, my class was talking about having a reunion because we missed a couple of them. And in October, Kurt Shumway is renting rooms out for $359 that weekend, October 10, 11. That's not exactly,
At the Econo Lodge?
no, not the Econo Lodge, but a lot of the hotels on the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Honestly,
Well, that's capitalism, and I support capitalism.
I don't know much about the hotel industry. I know only what I know from Kurt Shumway.
okay.
So, but what we talked about had to do with lodging taxes and impact on the town. And so if someone's paying that kind of money to stay overnight in Hadley, they're going to pay you more lodging taxes than they will if they're staying at the Econo Lodge. So that was the only point that he was making about that.
So Christian, I have one more thing to add.
Go ahead.
Off on a new topic. I did send a follow-up inquiry to Tom Reedy. Since we received our lump sum initial payment from East Street Commons, we have not received any subsequent payments. And I believe that they're still selling things over there, aren't they, Mike? People are moving in.
Yeah.
So trying to find out what's going on there.
There's 2 houses under construction. And I think there's 2 more lots, 2 more holes that could be dug.
Okay, but everything's been sold, but everything's under contract.
I'm not sure about one that was almost completed and then the woman couldn't consummate the deal because she developed dementia. And that may be back in inventory. It may be sold to someone else. I don't know, but everything else, as far as I know, has been sold. And it's just a problem with, as you know, construction costs.
Yep. Well, that's something I'll keep following up with Tom Reedy. I had hoped to have a reply for tonight, but and just going back to the planning board for a moment, if you remember, there was also a transfer of development rights component in that one after they got above a certain number of bedrooms. So I've asked Tom for an accounting of that as well.
Oh, you know,
Okay.
as I said, we threw a friendly 40B out there, so I think this is a worthwhile thing to pursue.
Yeah, I want to thank Laura for coming tonight and presenting to us and
Great presentation.
getting the questions and getting vet here. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Laura, don't take this as sexist, but you're very charming. Is that your real demeanor when you're negotiating?
I'm always this charming.
Okay.
Ask my family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. that's
Thank
right.
you, Laura.
Yep. I'll stick
And-
around if you have more for me, but I'm gonna hide
Thank
again.
you.
Yeah, the planning board might want to ask you more detailed questions. One thing I just, for future discussion topics that comes up while I'm sitting here is just, if a project like this comes into town, how can we, as the Affordable Housing Trust, what process do people have to come to us and look for money or funds to go into their project? Because we could be a source of funds for a project like this, whether it's background research or actually executing the project. So I don't
When's
know
the
what
last time you read the
process we
trust
have.
document?
Probably written down
But the
somewhere.
trust document's pretty free form. I think this would qualify.
Yeah, I think this is, talking about the more bang for your buck type of project. Contributing towards 50 affordable units is going to get us a lot better return than going out and trying to find the building lot and putting up
Exactly.
a single Habitat for Humanity house.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
This is kind of a North Hadley Hall 10 times over. You
So
know?
Laura had mentioned at the meeting last night that they did go to Amherst CPA for a contribution. In Hadley, Laura, we have the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which is what this group is, also has some funds under its control, a few $100,000. You know, there are routes to get community support and engagement.
Right. Okay, that's good to know.
The only thing, Laura, just on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund needs town meeting approval to contribute towards your project. Remember, they only meet twice a year. That's just a side comment.
You have town meeting twice a year. That's a step up from some towns.
We have an annual and typically in May, and a
Special
fall town meeting typically in October.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not presuming to ask you folks for money at this stage. We'll get to it, but we really wanted to just start talking about the concept and see what people thought, and especially kind of if there was a zoning path that made sense. So it's great to hear that there's interest.
Great. Yeah, sounds interesting. All right. Any other topics we want to discuss for affordable housing? Then I will just request a motion to adjourn, and we can close out of this session, and you guys can continue with your planning board meeting. Thank you for
Motion to
allowing the
Thanks,
time.
Chris. I'll make that
make a
motion.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Seems unanimous. All right. Thank you.
you.
And
Thank you. And I will post a meeting I will co-post
March
Affordable
15th.
Housing Trust Fund with the planning board for March 15th.
Oh, we got the battery storage continuation, but nobody's here for that.
We moved that to the 15th.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, so Ken did send us a revised special permits package, although honestly, I will say I did not look at that in detail. And we don't really have a text yet for the battery only option.
There's a lot to be discussed there too. So, but
Yeah.
under the special permit that Ken had the headings, one of them, conversion of a one-family dwelling into a two-family dwelling. And that may be a bit confusing with an apartment, which is different. And
Whoa, Joe, what are you talking about?
didn't Ken send us a listing of
Ken's list. Okay.
Ken's list special permit? And
Okay.
I think one of them is conversion of a single-family house into a two-family, and that belongs to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and that's prior, if the house was constructed prior to 1961. Then we have our apartment one. So I think we got to make sure they're clear. It says C section 8, and it didn't clear it up from my point of view, but maybe when you and Bill read it, you will have a different memory.
Okay. On the sign amendment that I put forward, I know Mark had a point to make sure that he commented back to me that also make sure the signs in a public way, in the public domain area, don't impede visions or sight lines. And that's a good one to add, and I will add that in.
Yeah, I wanted to add that one too, and I also maybe wanted to clarify that just the process that to put a sign in the public way, it's not just the building inspector. You have to get permission from the select board.
You do?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Anytime they wanted to hang, yeah, because the bylaw says no signs on public property. So I think you have to get select board approval to put something up, even if it's just, remember, people are always asking to hang something on the fence
Correct.
outside
Russell
Russell
School.
School. But I think we definitely say no signs, no private signs on public way, on public property. So I think we do. It's one of those things that, yeah, it goes without saying, except if you don't say it, someone is going to just misread it. So I think we just want to say something that, you know, the permitting is by the building inspector after approval by the select board, something like that.
Okay.
But with the widening of Route 9, we're gonna have some signs in the public way.
Permanent ones, won't they?
Yeah.
Well, then that's up to Mass Highway if they want to approve them. I don't think there'll be many, but there, in fact, I don't even know if it's still there, but wasn't there one for pointing towards Port of Health Huntington in front of the library for a while?
But Jim makes a good point about signs creeping closer and closer to the road. I remember when they used to have those mobile signs on those mini trailers, they would start out 15 feet back, then they would be 10, 9, 8, 7. Pretty soon they were almost on the highway. Hence the zoning bylaw, no mobile signs.
Okay. I'll make those changes. I'll reword the wording a bit to make sure it's understood that the selectmen will need to approve the sign and the building inspector will only permit them, give them the permits after approvals.
Why did they get that authority? The select board as opposed to planning board or ZBA?
The select board is the owner of the town property.
Yeah. These are only signs in a public way, Joe. Not other signs.
Okay.
You know, when I was on the Council of Governments, people would regularly come before us asking to put signs on the fence that surrounded the old courthouse. And I think we charged $50 per sign. So I thought I'd throw that out.
Well, that really kept them in business in perpetuity.
You're right, longer than they should have been. Good point.
We won't go there.
I was never prouder of Hadley than the day they voted to get out of that institution. And there was only one vote in favor of staying in. I'm still trying to figure out who the hell that was.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll ask I will reach out to the guy who's presenting for the battery storage. He had asked if we wanted to see some sample language. So might as well get something to look at.
Correct.
Okay.
And we haven't heard any more about the COVID testing at the mall. I think COVID testing has just gone off the deep end, huh?
I think so.
That's fallen through.
We haven't heard anything back from them. I put them on the agenda tonight because this was the follow-up date we gave them 6 weeks ago.
Right.
or 2 months ago. But no one's heard a peep from them since then.
May not have been a viable business plan to have crosswalk guards.
There's certainly, I don't want to cast any aspersions, but there certainly have been some there have been some fraudulent ones that have popped up elsewhere. And these people, I seem to feel that they were really working to just cash in on a business opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, this certainly wasn't a long-term thing by any stretch. This was a
No,
get in, make a few bucks for a short term and get out, which is fine. That's there's nothing wrong with that.
apparently they didn't have a deal with the mall. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Jeez.
So what Dee Dee from the building inspector's office pointed out, that anytime someone is seeking town approval with support from the mall sends a representative.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had no representative, it certainly was a red flag for Dee Dee, and she's mentioned that a couple of times. So apparently they had talked to a leasing rep from the mall about a concept, and the leasing rep told them that we'll talk with you about it, and they just ran with that.
But now that COVID's kind of dying down a bit, their quick money opportunity may have kind of fizzled a little bit too. Well, if they come back, we'll talk to them.
So I have not gotten I haven't gotten any further on working up standard conditions. Affordable Housing Trust Fund updates, I think we've covered that. And I don't know that there's anything else that out there.
I have no
Yeah.
bills. I have no bills or otherwise. We haven't spent any money. That's good.
Just one thing, we keep talking about special permits, and, I kind of know what they are, but all of a sudden we've got this thing coming from Ken concerning special permits. Could you just give us the significance of special permits and why they're needed? 20, 50 words or less.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I should let Jim do it in 50 words or less.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
The idea is that some things are allowed by right, like
Right.
putting up a house in a residential district.
Uh-huh.
Other things are considered to require a little more review. And the special permit is that class, that yes, you can do it, but you can't do it by right. You need to have it reviewed by a community board. And we have the ability to say no if it is not a well-conceived plan. Traditionally, we have used that. We've rejected things very reluctantly. We've done it a few times, but generally, if they meet our requirements, we're inclined to say, oh, let's do it. But we have a fairly specific set of requirements. So someone who has gone through site plan approval and gone through all the steps is generally going to come up with something that will be an addition, to be positive. But it gives us a chance to weed out some things that someone comes in with, I want to put in a fast food restaurant, but I don't have enough driveway, I don't have enough parking.
Right.
It gives us a chance to say no. Then in the same category, the next level is variance, which is very tough to get, but letting you put things where you otherwise couldn't if you can satisfy some narrow criteria.
Uh-huh.
the issue we had, why we asked Ken to prepare something, and this actually goes back probably to Larry Smith as one of the items on the work programs we did up with him. We only have one small paragraph in the ZBA section about special permits, and we're kind of hitchhiking on that. And it doesn't provide a lot of guidance for things. If you're getting site plan approval, you have 12 pages of guidance on what you have to do. But on some of the other special permits that we look at, there's not a lot of guidance. So having some more stuff written down makes it clearer.
So we're gonna have to go through that line by line and toss it around.
In a nutshell, Michael, we can regulate, but we cannot prohibit. Canton versus dugout. How's that, Bill?
Yeah, a lot of the special permits might give you a chance, like if it's permitted by right, they can just do it, get a building permit, etc. But the special permits give you the opportunity to take everything on a case by case basis and look at each one for its own merit and apply specific, well, you got to do this, or you can't do that, you got to do this, as opposed to, well, anybody can put a drainage system in. Well, your drainage system must look like this, as opposed to this company must look like this, kind of a deal. Things like that. And like Bill says, parking otherwise, make sure it's appropriate, make sure it's in the right place, make sure it works. And that would be in many cases, a superhuman effort for the building inspector to be looking at.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as we're not
Thanks for the
arbitrary and
refresher.
capricious.
Yeah.
Dr. Zagranic quoted Regis for somebody. Is Regis College still even around? Didn't they shut down?
No, I
The
think
next
it's
question.
still going.
Even if the plaintiff is no longer around, Bill, does the lawsuit continue?
Well,
It depends who stepped into the plaintiff's shoes.
Right. I think another college did. Yeah.
Interesting.
no, people living in Weston. It went Superior Court, Land Court, back to Superior Court, Land Court. It's like a ping pong ball. My roommate from college lives in Weston, so he always kept me updated on that one.
Anyways,
Thank you.
anything else, Mr. Dwyer?
I have nothing else.
Anybody else have anything else?
Greetings from Bogota. I'll be back next Wednesday.
Okey doke. Have a good flight.
Glad to be able to join you. Thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is history. Thank you, and thank you, Hadley Media.